Part 1. The silence between signals. What the universe is really doing when everything goes quiet. It begins with confusion, sometimes even fear. You've been moving through life with a sense of alignment, a rhythm where synchronicities seem to guide your every step. Numbers repeating, dreams aligning, conversations happening at the perfect time, all of it made you feel like you were on a divine path. Your trust in the unseen was rewarded with constant reassurance. But then one day it all stops. No numbers, no signs, no dreams that make sense. And the absence feels like abandonment. This is where most people panic. They assume they've done something wrong, that they've lost their connection, or that the magic was never real. But what they don't understand is that the silence is not emptiness, it's initiation. The universe hasn't stopped speaking to punish you. It has stopped speaking because you're ready to speak back. You're no longer in the beginner phase of receiving signs. You're being invited into the mastery of becoming the sign itself. In the early stages of awakening, synchronicities serve as breadcrumbs. They help us trust, they build our faith, and they show us that we are not alone. But once your nervous system has stabilized in higher frequencies and your consciousness has matured, those external affirmations are no longer necessary. You've internalized the language, you've absorbed the codes, and now the universe is asking you to shift roles from seeker to creator. You are being initiated into a higher level of spiritual responsibility.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
When synchronicity fades, it's not because you've lost your connection, it's because you've become the connection. You are no longer being guided step by step because you are being asked to generate movement from within. You are no longer just following signs, you are meant to transmit frequency. This is a massive shift. It requires you to stop depending on the outer world and start trusting your inner alignment. It is terrifying because it demands absolute self-trust. This is the sacred pause before a quantum leap, and only the few ever cross it. Most turn back. They chase the old feelings, the old confirmations, the external validations. But if you can stay still long enough in the silence, something miraculous will begin to happen. You will begin to hear the whisper of your own wisdom. You will start to sense your own energetic field becoming the compass, instead of looking outside for direction. This is when you begin to live from your own frequency instead of reacting to external patterns. You realize that the silence isn't the absence of guidance, it's the creation of space. Space for you to move from your soul's authority. Space for you to lead. This is not about ego taking over. It's about the soul remembering that it was never meant to be led forever. Eventually, the soul must rise and become the guide itself. You begin to notice something strange. Even though the signs have stopped, you still feel a deep inner pull, a knowing, a clarity. It's not loud, but it's stable. And that stability is more powerful than any external sign you've ever received. It's not a flash of insight, it's a constant hum. That hum is your quantum field activating. It's the vibration of someone who is no longer waiting to be shown the way. It's the vibration of someone who realizes they are the way. Let me ask you something that might change your life. What if the silence is the universe transferring its power to you? What if it's not ignoring you, but entrusting you? What if the very absence you fear is actually the presence of your own becoming? This isn't punishment. It's empowerment. But only if you can sit with it long enough to feel what's really happening beneath the surface. This is where the quantum shift truly begins. You are no longer just responding to synchronicity, you are generating the field that synchronicity flows from. You don't wait for magic, you become it. You don't ask for signs, you embody clarity. You're not waiting for the universe to move, you realize the universe is now waiting for you to move. This is the highest level of co-creation. But with that power comes a deep responsibility. You must learn to trust your own resonance. You must act not because you feel a sudden push, but because you choose to move from alignment. Your word becomes law in your field. Your emotion becomes a signal. Your stillness becomes a message. This is the level where manifestation becomes effortless, not through effort, but through coherence. And yes, there will be fear. The silence will tempt you to doubt. You will question yourself. You will crave the old signs. But if you can hold your center, if you can remain true to your inner knowing, something extraordinary happens. You begin to walk through life with a quiet power that needs no explanation. You become the kind of person whose presence is the confirmation others are looking for. Eventually, the signs may return, but they won't come to guide you anymore. They'll come to mirror you. You'll speak, and the world will echo it back. You'll move, and timelines will align. You'll breathe, and the field will respond. But you'll know it's not because you waited for a sign. It's because you became the signal. That's the gift of the silence. That's the power of the pause. So if you're in that space now where the synchronicities have gone quiet, where the signs have vanished, don't panic. Don't retreat. Don't think you've been abandoned. You've been activated. The silence is not the end of your dialogue with the divine. It's the moment you realize that you are now speaking your own sacred language, and the universe is listening. Part 2, the God frequency within, how to create reality when the universe goes silent. There is a vibration within you that most have never been taught to access. It doesn't speak in words, signs, or symbols. It doesn't shout. It doesn't even whisper. It simply is. It is the pure, raw frequency of your divine self, untouched, unfiltered, unshaped by the opinions of others or the noise of the outer world. This energy is not something you find. It is something you remember. And when synchronicity stops and the universe goes quiet, that is the space where this remembrance begins. Many people search for this frequency their entire lives, but never realize that it can only emerge in silence. The signs stop not because they are gone, but because they have served their role. They were never meant to be permanent, they were meant to awaken you. Once awakened, you no longer need breadcrumbs. You need spaciousness. And in that spaciousness, you begin to vibrate with a frequency that is not reactive, it is creative. You stop asking, what does this mean? And start declaring, this is what it's going to be. This is the God frequency. It is not a power outside of you. It is the power that animates you from within. It is the force that speaks before thought, that moves before form, that creates before logic. You tap into it through stillness, not striving, through alignment, not effort, through truth, not performance. This frequency does not rely on signs because it is the source of all signs. And when you live from this place, reality bends not because you force it, but because you're vibrating at the level of origin. But how do you access this frequency in a world so loud, so chaotic, so demanding? You must reclaim your sovereignty from distraction. You must step back from the mental noise, the constant seeking, the endless consumption of spiritual entertainment. You must choose silence not as absence, but as invitation. Silence is not empty. It is full of potential. When you sit in that space long enough, your nervous system begins to attune. Your awareness sharpens. Your heart opens. And suddenly you begin to feel the hum of something ancient inside your own being. And that hum is where creation begins. You do not need to beg the universe for answers. You need to become the question that reality cannot ignore. You do not need to wait for the next sign. You need to speak with the authority of someone who remembers that they are the source. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is the deep, sacred knowing that your soul came here not just to witness miracles, but to become one. And when you live from that place, reality will begin to respond in ways that leave no doubt. Let me ask you something that can only be answered from the soul. What if the universe stopped speaking to you because it is now trying to speak through you? What if the silence you're experiencing is not the end of communication, but the beginning of embodiment? What if the next level of your journey isn't about following signs, but creating them with your presence alone? When you begin to live from the God frequency, you stop measuring your progress by outcomes. You start measuring by alignment. You ask yourself, am I in truth? Am I in integrity? Am I in the vibration of what I desire? You stop chasing results and start embodying resonance. And that resonance begins to draw in realities that match your frequency, not your fear, not your doubt, not your desperation, but your deepest alignment. This is where the spiritual journey becomes quantum. You are no longer moving linearly. You are no longer walking a path someone else mapped. You are generating timelines with your breath, your choices, your attention. You are collapsing illusions with clarity. You are dissolving karmic loops with self-remembrance. You are no longer a student of the universe, you are a co-creator with it. And that co-creation begins not with effort, but with presence. This presence is your power now. When synchronicity stops, presence becomes your compass. It tells you when to move, when to pause, when to speak, and when to stay still. It doesn't give you reasons, it gives you resonance. You begin to trust feelings you can't explain. You begin to move on nudges that don't come with guarantees. And yet, every time you follow that resonance, reality shifts. The doors open, people appear, paths clear. But not because you were guided by signs, because you trusted the vibration of your own source code. And that trust becomes your new language with the divine. You no longer need external proof. You no longer need constant reassurance. You no longer fear missteps, because you know even the detours are part of the design. You are creating from a level beyond logic now. You are living from the center of your own field. And that center is where miracles are born, not the loud, dramatic kind, but the grounded, cellular, undeniable kind. The kind that shifts your entire life from the inside out. But here's the paradox. The more you live from this frequency, the less obvious your path becomes to others. People may not understand you. They may think you're disconnected or careless or too calm for how crazy the world is. But that's because they're still living by signs. You're living by signal. You're not reacting to the world, you're emitting a new one. And only those who are ready will recognize what you carry. That's why this stage of the journey can feel lonely. Not because you're lost, but because you've transcended the old map. You're walking in a field that others haven't entered yet. But you're not alone. You're ahead. And soon others will feel your field and remember something ancient in themselves. You will become the synchronicity they've been praying for, not by trying, but by being. So what do you do when the signs stop? You stop waiting and start transmitting. You stop asking and start embodying. You stop seeking and start creating. You remember that you are not a receiver of divine energy, you are a radiator of it. This is the God frequency. It's not a secret. It's not reserved for a chosen few. It's simply remembered by those who stop looking outward and start listening inward. And if you're here, reading this, then your remembrance has already begun. Part 3. You are the portal, how to move through life as a living field of synchronicity. There will come a moment in your journey when you look around and realize nothing is the same. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. You no longer wait for signs to give you permission. You no longer seek proof that you are on the right path. You no longer need a cosmic nod to justify your decisions. There is a stillness within you now, but it's not silence. It's sovereignty. And from that inner throne, you begin to experience something extraordinary. Life itself begins to shape around your presence. You are no longer following a path, you are weaving one. Not with effort, but with coherence. Your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, your actions, they all begin to harmonize. And that harmony becomes the frequency that reality mirrors. You don't force things into place. You resonate them into alignment. This is what it means to live as a portal. You are not a person pushing through life. You are a living field that reality adapts to. When you walk into a room, you don't just enter the space. You recalibrate it. People feel your energy before you speak. They trust you without knowing why. Or they resist you because your vibration disrupts their illusions. Either way, you are doing what you came here to do, not by trying, but by being. And this is what happens when the signs disappear and you choose to live from your own frequency. You become the anchor point for others. You become the synchronicity they've been praying for. But this embodiment doesn't come without challenges. You will be misunderstood. You will be called too intense, too quiet, too bold, too mysterious. People may project their fears onto you. They may try to pull you back into the old paradigm of waiting, questioning, doubting. But you must remember this: you are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to transmit a frequency that only those who are ready will recognize. And when they do, they will awaken not because you taught them something, but because you reminded them of who they are. Your life becomes a transmission. Every choice you make sends out a signal. Every word you speak carries a vibration. Every silence you hold becomes a container for revelation. This is not spiritual performance. This is spiritual presence. You are not here to impress. You are here to ignite. And the ignition doesn't happen through effort. It happens through resonance. When your inner world aligns, your outer world can't help but respond. This is the secret to living as a quantum being. You are not moving through time. Time is moving through you. You don't chase opportunities. Opportunities orbit your field. You don't force manifestations. You become the timeline where those manifestations already exist. And as you hold that vibration, reality rearranges itself not because you demanded it, but because you matched it. Let me ask you something that only your soul can answer. What would your life look like if you stopped waiting for proof and started living as the proof? What would happen if you made every step from your deepest truth, even when no one clapped, no one watched, and no one understood? What if the real miracle wasn't the outcome but the frequency you held during the becoming? This is the level where your presence becomes your practice. You don't need rituals to feel connected, you are the connection. You don't need to seek sacred spaces, you create them wherever you are. You don't need to chase enlightenment, you embody light. And that embodiment doesn't mean you're perfect. It means you're present. It means you're living from the center of your being, not the edges of your fear. And from that center, synchronicity becomes natural again, but this time, it flows from you, not to you. You say something, and it happens. You think a thought, and someone else speaks it. You desire something, and it appears without effort. Not because you were lucky, not because the universe was finally listening, but because you were finally aligned enough to receive what was always yours. You become a living reminder that life can be magical without explanation. You show others what's possible when you stop negotiating with your soul. You demonstrate what it looks like to live without needing signs because you are the sign. You are what the world has been waiting for, not in arrogance, but in truth. And the more you stand in that truth, the more the world will rise to meet you. And yes, you will still feel doubt sometimes. You will still have moments of contraction, but you will no longer be ruled by them. You will observe them, transmute them, and return to your center. That return becomes your power. It becomes the signal that stabilizes your field. And that field becomes the space where others awaken not because you push them, but because you hold them in the vibration of their own becoming. This is the real gift of when synchronicity stops. It teaches you to stop living from reaction and start living from radiation, from presence, from alignment. And in that alignment, you become a portal through which new timelines are born. You start to walk in a reality that others don't yet understand. You move differently, speak differently, breathe differently. And in doing so, you create a ripple effect that changes everything. So don't fear the silence. Don't resist the pause. Don't mourn the absence of signs. This is your invitation to become the one who sends them. This is your evolution into conscious creator. This is your return to divine authority. You are not just on a path, you are the path. You are not just waiting for alignment, you are the alignment. You are not just seeking truth, you are the embodiment of it. And the world feels you, even when you say nothing, even when you do nothing. Because energy never lies. And your field, when fully aligned, becomes the most honest thing anyone has ever encountered. You are the portal.